Do you desire for your most ideal prospects to not only find you, but when they find you, they instantly know, I want to work with them? Now, whatever kind of prospecting activity you're doing, there's a way to do that, whether it's cold outreach, door knocking, if you want to do that, cold calls. It could be different types of webinars or online marketing. It could be paid advertising. There's a way to do all that stuff and also speed up that process through exactly what we are going to talk about today. Now, sales girls know that they're always really looking for opportunity, always looking for the next big door that opens that they can walk through. And that's why I honestly love talking about just this concept of being ready every single day, because yes, it's getting ready and getting clothes on and your hair and your makeup and all of that good stuff, but it's also a state of mind. If I'm ready for whatever opportunity, whatever conversation, whatever connection comes in front of me today. It's interesting. I love to post get ready with me's on Instagram and talk about why getting ready is so important. And that's by far my most loved and hated topic. It's polarizing for some reason, but I just really stand by the belief that being ready makes you as a person ready to step into opportunity. Now, based on the opportunity that has happened for us recently, it is very common, and I don't want to say always, but most of the time, your opportunities come from the other side of connecting with critical people. And the question really becomes, okay, well, who are those critical people? That's exactly what I want to talk about today. But I think more than anything, the mindset you want to have to really leverage all your opportunities is to think of every person you come in contact with as a critical person, and really seeing them as somebody that holds the keys to the kingdom of your next opportunity, because it very well might be the case. And I have an amazing story to tell you that's going to prove that. And it just puts you in the state of, I'm thinking about loving other people, caring about other people, and treating them like royalty, because that's what makes people desire to want to be around you and work with you because of how you ultimately make them feel. When you are connected with the right people, you build something called trust by association. And this is built upon the principle called transitivity. Transitivity is where trust in one entity extends to the other entity through their relationship. So, for example, let's say person A trusts person B trusts person C. So person A is much more likely to trust person C based on the connection that they both have with person A. Okay. So there's lots of different ways to think about trust by association. And I have kind of three principles that I want to talk about. This trust by association, it makes me think of guilt by association. And I remember walking into my house as a high school kid, and I had a day at school, and I kind of came home and I said, Mom and Dad, like, I really want to go to this bonfire party happening Friday night. Can I go? And the first question that they would ask me is, oh, that sounds so fun, Macy. I'm curious who's going to be there. And I remember not wanting to tell them all the people. I remember being like, I'll just tell them a couple of people, because if they hear the other people's names, they're not going to let me go, which honestly should have been a red flag. I was like 15. Okay. Give me a break. Should have been a red flag that, hey, we probably shouldn't go to this if I'm embarrassed about who's going to be there. And I remember like just naming the people that I thought that they would like. But my parents knew that the people that I did mention were still associated, even though they liked them, they were still associated with people that had a different type of reputation. And they told me something one time I'll never forget. They said, Macy, we trust you. Like, we trust you fully. We don't trust the reputation of the people that you just named. So if something were to go down that was bad, even if you weren't doing anything bad, you would be guilty by association. And therefore, it is simply not worth it. Was I mad? 100%. Were they right? 100% they were right. And of course, 25 years later, I'm so thankful, because it probably saved me from a lot of heartache, a lot of pain, and possibly some bad decisions. And that proves the importance of the people that you surround yourself with. Now, whether this is good or bad, I kind of hear people saying things like, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, you shouldn't have perceptions of people's reputation like that. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not, maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. Whatever the case may be, this is a human nature thing. Why is it a human nature thing? Because people want to categorize other people in their minds. That's how our brains work. We want to know where people belong because it helps us feel safe with them. Even if someone says something that you don't agree with, you automatically can categorize them, which the byproduct of that is you know where they stand. And so therefore you feel safe. You want to know the groups of people that you belong with, that you don't belong with, that you want to be with, that you don't want to be with. It's a primal instinct. So one thing that sales girls do is we work with human nature. When I say work, I mean work, WERK. We work with it really hard. And this is one of the most important things that you can do. So let's use it, baby. Let's leverage it to our advantage. There are three association plays that you can run. And the first one is association with people of high influence. Of high influence. Now, one thing I used to think was that I just kind of naturally associated with people and with groups of people that I thought were kind of in my league. You know what I'm talking about, right? The people that were in the business as long as I was, the people that I kind of started this business around the same time. We did similar things, maybe not for the same type of people. We maybe did the same type of revenue, similar results, similar business structure. I just felt so safe with them. And I just want to challenge you. If that sounds like you, first of all, it's so normal. I just talked about human nature principles. Like you want to be around people that you feel like understand you. And I'm so excited to tell you that when you can get in the rooms with people that are seemingly levels ahead of you, that have way bigger results than you do, and just seem like way out of your league, it will absolutely bust your brain open in ways that you will never ever can never imagine. And I recently just started to pay, to be honest, to pay to be in the right rooms with high influence people and really being associated with them. And the way that I see myself personally and the way that I see our business has quadrupled, like quantum leaped simply by associating myself with these type of people. But also if other people see you associated with them, they will also perceive you as that level and they will actually trust you more. So we talk a lot about how sales is a process over the bridge of trust. And that bridge of trust can take a long period of time. It can also be very, very quick. It's so interesting. I just traveled with a group of people and I was joking with them because I was like, wow, when you travel with a group of people, you bond with them so quickly and so much. And we laughed and agreed. And it's really because you spend so much time with them in a condensed period of time and you experience so much life. Like honestly, in a trip, you're in unfamiliar places. You kind of see how people work in high stress areas and you see them ups and their downs. And it just builds this bridge of trust so quickly. And so when you're building trust with prospects, you can 100% do that with little tiny interactions over that bridge of trust. You can kind of think about it like this. And there's all these steps along the way. And you can kind of take step by step, one by one, connection by connection, interaction by interaction, handshake by handshake, and it takes years and years. Or you can really expedite it by being associated with certain groups of people. So when someone is a decision maker and they don't have a ton of information and they're not very certain, a quick way to give them a level of information and give them certainty is by associating yourself with a person of a high level of influence. So I want to give you a quick example of my husband. He's in insurance sales. He's not in online marketing or anything like that, but he was asked to speak at a church, a very small church, about life insurance. Now, my husband is not a speaker by any means. That is not what he does. But for whatever reason, he was kind of felt pulled to say yes. The person that asked him was a client. It wasn't a huge client by any means, but it just felt like something he like should do for this client. So he did. He gave it his all. He gave his speech. And someone that was in that audience, we'll call him Bob. Bob had a brother named John. Okay. Now, my husband works in a very niche industry, and by happenstance, by chance, John, who is Bob's brother, happened to be like the industry leader in this niche. And Bob wanted to introduce my husband to John, this huge monster in the industry. And gosh, this principle is just so cool because it just shows like treat everybody like a critical person. I mean, if you were to list out the facts on paper about the speaking engagement, you would look at it and say, this is not worth your time. But he really saw this as an amazing opportunity to say yes and go to just build that trust, right? So then Bob felt really kind of connected to Austin from being at church. He felt like it was like a community service kind of thing that he was doing. And then Bob connecting him with John, the industry leader, helped really connect Austin and John, the industry leader, in a way that I don't think would have ever happened if Austin just like cold called him. So it ended up being a amazing client for my husband. He's by far the biggest client that he has. And Austin is very, very diligent, very intentional about not only being in the right rooms, but being in the right rooms with John. And if John is in the room, whether it's for a lunch or for a whole convention, my husband is going to go. Because what he has found is that when he is associated with John, other people instantly trust him. They think, wow, if John trusts him, then so can I. That is the power of being associated with someone of high influence. And that's also kind of what I mean by saying like they're way, way, way more in reach than you realize. It's really putting yourself in rooms that really ups your chances of being connected in the right way. The second group of people I would really want you to think of is association with people of high proximity. So proximity is how close someone is. You could think about it in a physical sense. You could also think about it in a relational sense, in a societal sense that they are proximately close. So you can think about this as like Bob and John are brothers. And so that's a relational family proximity. And then also just the people, like if you were to think about your ideal prospect, the people that are physically close to them, I want you to treat them like they are royalty. You should be really treating everybody like royalty, but especially the people that are in close proximity to that ideal prospect. So people like their family, if you happen to meet their family, their assistants, their team members, their friends who they play golf with, who they play tennis with, like anybody that spends proximal time with your ideal client, treat them like royalty. I want you to know their story. I want you to know their work. I want you to know their kids. I want you to know their names and say their names and interact with them on Instagram and social media. And most of all, most important of all, specifically and genuinely compliment them. I don't want you telling them that you like their shirt and you like their outfit. Compliment their character. Tell them that they're an amazing mom for taking their kids to Disney World last week and you saw it on social media and that you're so impressed with how well that they handled that trip and they planned that trip. It was obviously such a good time. Like really, really know them intimately in their life. You never know when your name could come up in a situation when you're not there. And you want that person to speak up and say, man, I love her. I love talking to her. I love like communicating with her. I would love to work with her. As someone who has a team, it is of high importance for me that my team enjoys who they work with. And if there's one person, another person that are kind of equally good, but they highly enjoy working with one specific contact, you better believe I'm going to pick the one that they love to work with. The best case scenario is that the person that is very close in high proximity to your ideal prospect is that they compliment you when you're not around. They plant seeds and place stories in the heads of your ideal prospect that keeps you top of mind. This is so powerful. This is what sales girls and just like world-class sales girls do is they keep the whole picture in mind, not just the prospect. The third and final kind of association play I want you to think about is association with people through partnerships. So I was recently with Myron Golden on a private jet to Boise, Idaho. I'll never stop talking about this because it changed my brain chemistry forever. But Myron really has helped me think about brand differently. I used to be frustrated by the concept of brand because I think I would be in conversation with people about what next investment they should make in their business. And they would tell me things like their photo shoot and getting their website done to represent their brand. And I understand that that's important, but if you don't have sales, like if people even talking to you, it doesn't even matter what your colors are or what your photo shoot is. Sales skills are so important. So I feel like I developed this relationship with brand of people thinking that it was more important than it was. And Myron has really helped me see a new way of thinking about brand. And I asked him if he thought brand was a long game play because he kept talking about like becoming a person that people really want to like be around. And I'm like, okay, that could be a lifetime for somebody. Is this a long play? And he said, it could be. And just like everything in life, there are certain ingredients that you can add to a mix that heightens and increases the speed in which something happens. And I was like, oh, that's so true. He was telling me principles of pollination and how there are certain elements that speed it up, like wind, for example. And I said, well, what are the ingredients for speeding up brand? And he immediately said, partnerships. Aligning yourself with certain brands and people that can speed up the word of mouth of your brand, but also the reputation that you have. You can do this through things like podcasts and videos, but I think even better, it's something like a joint venture, which I'm going to talk about in just a second. But I remember reading Jason Fladlin's book, One to Many, and one of the things he talked about was having pictures of you with a high level person or a brand that demonstrates so much about you in your presentation. So he would say things like, if you were to quote somebody like Myron Golden, put a picture of you and Myron Golden under the quote. And I remember thinking this before I decided to start working with Myron. I remember thinking the next time I see him, I'm going to try to get a picture that feels like he and I are just hanging out, that it doesn't feel like a meet and greet like photo shoot situation, but it feels like a selfie, like we're having fun because I want it to be perceived as like he is my friend. And I used to be somebody who didn't think like I don't need a picture, I'm good. And now I know how important it is because just that image is just like an image in someone's head that they instantly will create a story about you from that picture. Now, a joint venture is really cool. It accelerates your brand, but also accelerates your lead generation because you start to kind of share lists. You promote each other to each list. I have the definition of a joint venture right here. It's when two or more parties come together to collaborate on a specific project while retaining their separate identities and ownerships. So you don't like come into business together necessarily. You do one special project or event together. Now, I was listening to Russell Brunson talk about this. He talks about joint ventures and aligning with people and collaborations often, but at the Inner Circle event, he told us about this play he did with Ryan Holiday. He's an author, and Russell really wanted to kind of promote to Ryan Holiday's list, but the offer that Ryan Holiday ended up giving Russell was, hey, you can pay for an ad or you can pay for a podcast interview. And so I think Russell ended up paying Ryan Holiday a pretty penny to do a podcast interview. What Russell did was so brilliant because he did a podcast interview with both of their faces together. He put that podcast interview on a page, okay? And then that is the page that he did paid advertising to Ryan Holiday's audience. And on that page, he had an opt-in or some sort of offer that made sense with the interview. And it's so brilliant because Ryan's audience is going to trust Ryan. So if Ryan and Russell are together, that's like the proximity thing. That's like, oh, person A and person B and person C, I'm going to trust person B because person A and person C both know. It's just so incredibly brilliant. And so when you do a joint venture like that and you can have two of the faces side by side in some capacity, what Ryan and Russell did wasn't really a joint venture by any means, but it was just the principle of our faces are together and we are kind of creating something together side by side. And a joint venture is kind of like a new offer potentially versus like an affiliate would be, I promote someone's program and I get an affiliate commission versus I create an offer with somebody and we kind of sell it together. So beautiful, so amazing, so incredibly leveraged beyond leveraged to generate leads, make more sales, and increase your brand awareness like crazy. Overall, really, really consciously building out your associations through people with high influence, high proximity of the people that you want and desire to work with, and also building it through partnerships will increase your prospecting game. It'll increase your awareness game, and it'll help leverage all the work that you are doing to not only be known, but to fast track that decision that people make based on fast tracking the trust that you build. I hope this episode was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.